thanks. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Dear National Focal Points, dear directors of the regional centers, dear colleagues, welcome to this webinar entitled Small Grants Program on Plastic Waste, or in short, the SGP. All you need to know about the selected project. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope in particular that you and your families are all safe and well in this difficult period. So the objective of this webinar today is to learn about the projects that have been selected under the first round of the SGP on plastic waste. We also want to share lessons learned that have emerged during the selection process. Moreover, we hope that this webinar will help you gain a better understanding of the activities that are to be implemented in the beneficiary countries, and also to learn more about the characteristics of a successful proposal with a view to inspiring future activities. So with this objective in mind, today's agenda features three main items. We will commence with my colleague Kay, who will provide a brief welcome and an explanation of the SGP on plastic waste, including an overview of the status, so as to ensure that we are all on the same page. Second, we will invite the respective regional centers to present the 7 projects that have been selected for implementation under the first round of the SGP on plastic waste. After each brief presentation, there will be an opportunity for questions and answers. And of course, as we have limited time, we will only be able to take a few questions per proposal, but then of course you're invited to follow up with us directly bilaterally or with the regional centers after the meeting. And then we will conclude with a brief presentation by my colleague Suman, who will share some insights and lessons learned from the first round of the SGP, as well as a few remarks regarding the next step for the second round of the SGP. So thank you very much again for joining us, and I would now like to invite Kay to provide some further remarks and her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and I would like to welcome all of you. I would like to welcome all of you to join this webinar today. Thank you for joining. I would like to start my presentation. Works. Yes, okay. I'll give you some little overview of the marine pollution that is caused by plastic waste, and you've seen it all over the world today. It's a global transboundary movement, the transboundary problem that originates at a local level, but it spreads around the world. And the problem has increasingly captured political and scientific attention over the last decade, as you have seen on TV and heard on the news. Marine plastic pollution has also many negative consequences, and one of them is that animals like turtles, mammals, and seabirds, they ingest or get entrapped in plastic waste. Researchers also show that microplastics are found in fish that we eat or in water that we drink. Whether those plastics pose a risk for humans or not is still not confirmed, nor it is disproved. So it's still being debated. The scientists are still studying to find the exact risk for human health. However, some plastic additives, such as brominated flame retardants or fluorinated surfactants, those are also listed under the Stockholm Convention, are known to be toxic, and some of them are endocrine disruptors, and the risks that are caused by additives is proved. And the plastic waste, they remain in the environment for a long time, whether in a river or in ocean or in the land, and it could even stay for centuries. While drifting in the environment, plastic waste may also absorb those POPs, like mentioned, those flame retardants, but also PCBs, that could be found in water environment, or bacteria and viruses on the surface of plastic waste. In addition to hygiene concerns and biodiversity loss, there are also aesthetic costs that it could be caused by plastic pollution. And the solid waste management practices in developing countries are very much different from countries to another. And it has very varying levels of treatment, low recycling rates, and high share of legal disposals. Another point to raise is the incineration of plastic waste, which could be a major source of air pollution. The burning of plastic releases toxic gases like dioxins and furans, as you know, as well as greenhouse gases that could have impact on climate change. But many governments they're committed to show their commitment in the implementation and addressing plastic waste, exploring innovative solutions, banning single-use plastics, and promoting segregation at source, increasing recycling, and introducing alternatives and more. So this is an encouraging development, and one of the highlights that we would like to mention here is the Basel Convention Plastic Waste Amendment that was adopted at the 14th meeting of the Conference of the Parties in 2019. The amendments included the 3 new entries, the first one in Annex 2. This new entry would make the mixture of plastic waste subject to prior informed consent procedure, which means that countries can only receive plastic waste that are dirty and not ready for recycling only upon consensus, and make sure that the receiving country has the capacity to manage that plastic waste in an environmentally sound manner. And the second entry clarifies that the hazardous nature of plastic waste, plastic waste that contains hazardous chemicals, those will be considered as hazardous waste and therefore subject to PIC procedure. The last entry relates to Annex 9, and this entry will ensure that the plastic waste that is clean and ready for recycling to be able to be traded as for the purpose of recycling. And therefore, here is one of the highlights that the expected impact of the plastic waste amendments with these 3 new entries. So as I was saying, in Annex 9 entry, it should promote recycling. And then in the entries in Annex 2, the countries should start promoting ESM at the local level. It will also prevent dumping, illegal dumping, because it has to ensure environmentally sound management by making those plastic waste subject to PIC procedure. And it will also promote minimization and generation of plastic waste. With this big decision that was taken in 2019, the countries are committed to address this plastic waste from various angles. And this small grant program was established with the funding from the Norwegian Development Cooperation Agency to support countries in combating plastic pollution through the regional center support. So this slide summarizes how does the small grant program work, funding from NORAD. Now, as highlighted here, the regional centers are the key implementing partner in the program. And for this implementation, we have the modalities that was agreed upon with the NORAD and the Secretariat, and it's made available on the website. Of course, it's very important to have the government support, and therefore all the small grant program projects proposals accompanies the government's endorsement letters. As an implementation mechanism, we have the Secretariat team and the steering committee that considers the small grant program project proposals. The scope of the projects includes the 3 key pillars of the Basel Convention, the transboundary movement. It is to effectively control the transboundary movement of plastic waste. The second pillar is to improve the environmentally sound management of plastic waste, like recycling, collection, transport, and final disposal. The third pillar is to minimize and prevent the generation of plastic waste through innovation or change in the design of the plastic waste. The scope also includes additives, for example, POPs, so that there is a synergy between the Basel and the Stockholm Conventions. Through those pillars, it is aimed to contribute to SDG targets, in particular for 14.1 that relates to life below water, and 12.4 that relates to responsible consumption and production. The key elements are highlighted in this slide. As you can see that it's very important to ensure that we know who is doing what kind of guidance is available to avoid duplication and maximize the efforts. We also would like to ensure that the outcomes of the small grant program is effectively communicated. So the webinar is one of the means that we are using now, and I thank once again for your participation in this webinar. Now, I would like to summarize here the selected projects. We have, after the process of eligibility and evaluation process and the steering committee meeting, we have received a total of 44 project proposals that were eligible for evaluation, and from that we had selection of 7 projects as summarized in this slide. So within the webinar today, we will be hearing presentations on those 7 projects. I think we will start from the SCRC China 1 project on capacity on environmental sound management of single-use plastics and its waste in Asia-Pacific countries. So with this, I would like to now hand over to Joost for moderating the rest of the webinar. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kay, for this informative presentation, especially also nice to remind us of the broader context and why we are doing this work. Thank you very much. So as Kay indicated, we will now move to the presentations by the regional centers. But before we do so, and we have limited time, but nevertheless, I wanted to check if there's any burning questions. We should have time for 1 or 2 of them. So in case any of you would like to pose Kay a question, please raise your hand, and then we can address those. Okay, I see Michael Ernst. Yes, please.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for the presentations and the introduction. I was a bit late, and maybe I missed a little bit at the beginning, but my question is simply, how do these interesting projects, how they are they linked, or is there any link to any project under the Plastic Waste Partnership? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. I would like to, so the link in terms of the contribution, the scope of the project, I think that the largest link is that both SGP on plastic waste and the Plastic Waste Partnership, the overall objective is to support countries in addressing plastic waste and to in accordance with the provision of the Basel Convention. And so in that sense, yes, there are links between these projects. If your question about link was to make overlaps or the cooperation among those selected projects, then I would like to highlight that the Secretariat who were involved in this SGP, the project selection and evaluation are also involved in the Plastic Waste Partnership evaluation, and whenever we find overlap or the potential for cooperation, we have been highlighting this in the process as well. So as to not to have the duplication of the project implementation. Did I address your question?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that's very helpful because I think, in my view, these projects can be complementary and should not duplicate. And that's what I expected, that, of course, the Secretariat is looking into both issues so that you take care that, also possible, where there are possible links, there could be cooperation, or also to check that there is no duplication. But that seems to be the case, so that's much welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, both Kay and Michael. I see one more hand, and after that, I'm afraid we have to close the round of questions to move on. So now I can give the floor to Parasam, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, I've typed my query to Kay, and thank you for her presentation. I'm probably new to this discussion, so I just wanted to know about the modalities for project submission. If there's any document that gives such information, it would be helpful if that could be circulated. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. So I mentioned about the modalities of the small grant program that we have developed in the beginning. We can certainly send you the link to the explanatory page of SGP, plus modalities for first round and the second round of the call for project proposals.
Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification, Kay. Since time is pressing, I would now like to move on to the presentations by the regional centers. So first of all, for the first presentation, I would like to invite Chen Yuan from the BCRC SCRC China to briefly, and please keep it within 5 minutes max, present the project on capacity building on environmentally sound management of single plastic use and its waste in Asia Pacific countries. Chen Yuan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman Yost. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, distinguished participants. It's my pleasure to introduce the project proposal briefly. The title is the Capacity Building on Environmentally Sound Management of Single-Use Plastic and Waste in Asia-Pacific countries. The goals of this project is to enhance the capacity in the selected countries in this project, and then at the regional level in other Asia-Pacific countries for the environmentally sound management of single-use waste, plastic and waste. In this project, we invited the Cambodia, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka, these 3 countries, to involved in this project. And according to the guideline of this project application, the project duration is 12 months. So for our project, we designed 3 activities according to the status and requirements on the single-use plastic and its waste management in these 3 countries. The activity 1 is establish inventory and standards for single-use plastic and waste in these Asia-Pacific countries. Most in these 3 countries. The output 1 is to do the life cycle analysis on the single-use plastic and its waste in these 3 countries. In fact, under this output, we will invite the experts from these 3 countries to supply the the information or data needed for the life cycle analysis. And output 2 is a cost-benefit analysis and environment impact assessment on the bans or restrictions in these 3 countries will be conducted. And this output will do the evaluation of the bans or regulations in hand in these 3 countries from the perspectives of cost benefits and environmental impact. And output 3 is to establish a list of restricted single-use plastics. In fact, in different countries, they focus on different single-use plastic. So basing on the life cycle analysis, the cost-benefit analysis, and environmental impact analysis of, and also the baseline information from these 3 countries, we will develop a list of the, we'll recommend a list of the single-use plastic products which should be restricted or banned. Regarding to the activity 2, it's to propose the policy options for single-use plastic and waste in these 3 countries. About the output 1, it's first we will study and learn the international experience and successful experience on single-use plastic and waste management from developed countries and other countries. And the activity is the most work is the desk survey, and the output 2 is a public satisfaction surveys for the consumers and partners among producers and retailers conducted. And this output, in fact, under this activity, the project will propose the policy options. Before the policy options released or issued by the government, we need to do the public satisfaction surveys on the policy option. And the output 3 is the gap on policies for single-use plastic and waste identified. For this output, we do the gap analysis for the policies which is being implemented, and between the policies in hand and to the environmentally sound management of single-use plastics, we do the gap analysis. And the output 4 is the policy suggestions for the environmentally sound management of single-use plastic waste, plastic and waste at national levels, which means based on the public certification and the gap analysis, the activity will we propose the policy suggestions for each country, for each 3 countries. And the activity 3 is develop regional strategy on single-use plastic and waste. In fact, under these activities, the most important work is to develop a regional strategy. The main content of this strategy will be involved the status of the single-use plastic and waste management and its problems in Asia Pacific region. And the other main important content is to analyze the work done in this at the regional level, and what kind of work have been done, what kind of work has not been done, and basing on this analysis, we'll put forward the actions to be done in the near future at the regional level. And output 3.2 is a regional multi-stakeholder consultation. Under these activities, we will organize a regional consultation and to finalize the regional strategy. And also, the project will develop many different kinds of materials to disseminate the outcomes of these projects. Okay, thank you. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chen Yuan, for this informative presentation. Very well received. So now we have a quick opportunity for questions in case. I think we can take one or two questions if there are any. So if you have any, please feel free to raise your hand and I will have a look and see if there's any questions. I'll give you just a moment to consider. No, so far I don't see any questions. So maybe it was also clear that no further discussions are needed. Okay, great. Thank you again, Chen Yuan. That was very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then, secondly, I would like to invite Sunil from the SCRC India to briefly present the project on development of an innovative approach for improved plastic waste management in India. Sunil, please try to stick to 5 minutes for your presentation, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. This project has been designed by SCRC India with the title on development of an innovative approach for improved plastic waste management in India. And the focal point is Dr. Rakesh Kumar, our director, and members will be myself and our two young colleagues from environmental engineering background, Dr. Holuram Yadav and Dr. Devi Sri Khan, who is also attending this workshop. And this area of intervention is to improve the ESM of plastic waste and prevent and minimize the generation of plastic waste. There are 3 objectives and accordingly 3 activities which lead to 3 outputs. First objective is to identify the major sources and collection of samples from identified points in Nagpur city where the SCRC center is established to characterize the plastic waste. And the activity under this objective is identification of major sources and collection of samples from various points in the city for characterization of the plastic waste. And this activity will lead to report on major plastic flow along with the identification of hotspots and characteristics of single-use plastic waste littering. The second objective is to explore the gaps in existing plastic waste management practices, design of the policy instruments, and implementation strategies for improvement in the existing system. And under this objective, the activity is to explore the major gaps in existing plastic waste management practices and modifications in the implementation of existing policy which was established by Government of India in 2016 to improve the management system. And this activity will lead to identified gaps in the existing management option and techniques for modification of the existing policy to improve its management. And third objective is to explore the options for improvement of the existing technological options towards collection, recycling, reuse, and treatment of the single-use plastics. And for that, activity is to explore the options for improvement in the existing technological alternatives through recycling, reusing, and treatment of the plastic waste. And this activity will lead to a report on technological options for plastic waste treatment and management system. And finally, the objective is to create a value chain of plastic waste collection, mapping a new circular economy to support the development of new opportunities, and for that, creation of a value chain for plastic waste collection, mapping of a new circular economy towards development of new opportunity, and which will lead to establish a value chain for plastic waste collection and mapping of new circular economy. And the expected deliverables, that is outcomes. There are 4 outcomes. First is recognition of threat of plastic waste towards contamination of marine environment. And second one is the formulation of strategies and measures for sensitive marine inhabitants and implementation in reducing transboundary movement of plastic waste, as well as suggestion for existing policy improvement. And the third outcome is improvement in informal sector participation towards plastic waste management, which will further increase employment generation to improve the socio-economic and health status of the human as well as environment. And finally, report on technological options for plastic waste treatment and management system. And in this, under different activities and indicators, I would like to thank UNEP team for providing very useful suggestions which help to improve the activity as well as indicators. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sunil. And I think it's excellent and very interesting that you're also really considering the informal sector, which, as we all know, plays such a crucial role in most countries in the world in plastic waste management. So I think that's a very interesting component of your project. So thank you very much. So again, we have a short opportunity for some questions, if there are any. So if you have a question regarding this project, please feel free to raise your hands. And I already see Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan, please take the floor.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much, Sulin. Thank you for your presentation. I learned the Norway founded India project, bilateral cooperation project in India. Might I have want to learn the synergy between this project and the bilateral cooperation project?
Thank you, Ivan. Can you tell me what are the bilateral cooperation projects? I think this is the only one project on plastic waste which is being executed under UNEP initiative.
Oh.
No other project is going on.
Okay, yeah, that project is going on. So if there are activities from this project can be contribute to the bilateral project, and or if the bilateral project outputs can contribute to this SGP project.
Yes, I understand. This project will definitely be beneficial for your project, which you are supporting, carrying out with support from Sri Lanka and other 2 Asian countries. And vice versa, your activity will also be useful for our project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any further questions before we move on to the next presentation? I don't think I see any hands. No. Okay, great. Thank you very much again, Sunil.
Thank you.
So great. So then we can move on to the next presentation. So I would like to invite Martin from the BCRC Slovakia to briefly present the project on pilot implementation of specific public procurement criteria focused on prevention and minimization of plastic waste in Albania. Martin, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello and good day to all of you from BCRC Slovakia, Bratislava. So in the next few minutes, I would like to present to you what's the idea behind our proposal of the project under this SGP call. So you see the title of the project, and that more or less describes its focus. But first of all, I would like to say some basic information about it. These will be our partners, so that's us, BCRC Slovakia, the Ministry of Tourism and Environment of Albania will be our coordinating partner on the Albanian side. And then we will have two project implementing partners. One of them will be a non-governmental organization, and one of them will be a municipality. So that's where we want to implement the let's say green public procurement criteria or policy focused on plastic waste. The total budget of the project is $66,164, and in general, by this project proposal, we aim to test the implementation of green public procurement policy with the focus on plastic waste into the public procurement processes of our two project implementing partners, and so to enhance the plastic waste prevention as well as reuse as well as recycling. And also our intention is to show the way how this could be possible on a much broader scale after the project, let's say, as a follow-up. So in the next slide, you can see the activities of the project and also the implementation plan. So I will just briefly introduce the activities to you. So first of all, we will need to know the background from the management of waste and specifically management of plastic waste in the country, in Albania, as well as the background of public procurement processes in the country. We know that there is a public procurement legislative framework at place in Albania. We know that there is a public procurement agency. So we need to know in the first step how all this works, and this will be the role of our partner in the project. Then we will prepare a list of applicable public procurement criteria, and we will focus on a plastic waste. Just to say an example of a criteria, it could be avoidance of single-use plastic products, or prioritization of plastics with recycling content, for example, or proposing bins for separation of products or plastic waste at place at the source. Then we will prepare a template for a policy which would implement these criteria or suitable criteria into the public procurement processes of our implementing partners, and this will be in the next step implemented, or this policy will be adopted by our partners, and in the next step, in the next activity, it will be implemented over the testing period of 7 months. Meanwhile, we will prepare awareness-raising materials to promote the project topic. And at the end of the awareness-raising activity, we will organize 2 workshops, which will consist of one part will be training for stakeholders involved in the public procurement processes from various institutions. And the other part would be description or presentation of the project implementation, our experiences throughout the implementation, and the lessons learned, and overall to promote the project topic as well. And in line with the implementation period, there will be more monitoring going on. So this is the activity 6. So we will monitor the implementation of the criteria of the policy, and we will evaluate everything into the final report and describe the experiences and lessons learned, and we will summarize everything and draw the conclusions. So this is very briefly the description of our idea in project, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And indeed, I think it's a very exciting project with its focus on public procurement criteria, which certainly has a large potential to impact, with their purchasing power. So very welcome. Again, there's an opportunity for questions. So if you have any, please raise your hand. If not, we will be moving on to the next presentation. But feel free and don't feel shy if you have any questions regarding this presentation by Martin. Well, okay, that means our timing calculations maybe do work out in the end, since there are no questions as far as I see. So that's an advantage. Okay, great. So thank you once again for the presentation. And we can then move on to the next presenter. So now I would like to invite Percy from the BCCC Nigeria. To briefly present the project on promoting environmentally sound management and control of transboundary movements of plastic waste in Nigeria through inventory and stakeholder mapping. Percy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, or good day, everybody. This is a national project in Nigeria, which is one of the largest in terms of population in Africa. And associated with this population and its economy, of course, is the generation of a large quantity of plastic waste, which is very conservatively estimated at 2.5 million. I stress the word conservatively because we believe it's much more than this, and this is partly the reason why the inventory is one of our core projects. Unfortunately, plastic waste is not properly managed in the country, as is the case in many developing countries. And I have listed a catalog of problems with plastic waste management in Nigeria. But the good news is that more recently, particularly in the last 1 year, the government has been working towards the most fundamental things with regards to solving the plastic waste problem. In particular, in October 2020, the government finally passed and approved a policy on plastic waste management. During the activities towards this formulating this policy, stakeholders met and outlined what they would like to see as activities that will follow the formulation of the policy. And these included awareness raising, inventory, review of legal and institutional frameworks, establishing standards, training officials, and so on. And our project was tailored to meetings at least one or two of these needs. Our intervention is in the area of carrying out the inventory of plastics and plastic waste in Nigeria, and also mapping stakeholders in the plastic value chain and enhancing networking and interaction among the stakeholders. The inventory is designed to support the control of transboundary movement of plastic waste, as well as the environmentally sound management of wastes in the value chain along recycling, disposal, transportation, and other aspects other than the transboundary movement. And we know that this data that we may generate from inventory will very significantly support other planned national activities in plastic waste management in Nigeria. With regards to the stakeholders mapping, currently there are no national registers of stakeholders in the plastic waste management business, and many stakeholders are operating in silos without knowing what is going on in other other parts of the country, and there is no coordination by the regulatory agencies of stakeholders involved. And so we hope that we will be able to establish a mechanism for network by producing this register of stakeholders from all disciplines, and then create this web-based platform, in particular a dedicated website that could be used for listing the stakeholders, encouraging networking among them, and sharing information. So ultimately what we are trying to do, our core objective, is to promote ESM through initial activities that will provide a solid base and background for further interventions in plastic waste management in Nigeria. I have here the skeleton of the logical framework, which shows our core activities in three components: the implementation of inventory of imports and exports, the implementation of inventory, which supports ESM, that's the local production, waste generation, and recycling, hoping that these, of course, will lead to the output of the reliable data that we are talking about that could be used for ESM and the control of transboundary movement. And then the mapping of the stakeholders profile and the creation of the website should provide comprehensive data as output and achieve networking. These two outputs will certainly be able to achieve the outcome of improved infrastructure and systems for plastic waste management in Nigeria, which ultimately will lead to impacts that are desirable to minimize marine litter and achieve certain targets in SDG 14. Now, the activities associated with the project are listed here, and I will just highlight a few issues. With regards to the inventory, it's worthy to note that the methodology that will be used for the inventory is the same as is currently being used for the NORAD 1 project in Ghana. We are hoping that we'll be able to engage international expert that is already involved in that particular project, and will be supported by local experts in Nigeria. And we will engage a lot of agencies like the customs and certain ministries in Nigeria. Nigeria being a very large country, the inventory may also be a bit more complex. With regards to the activity on stakeholder mapping, we propose to profile a large group of stakeholders from the manufacturers, the recyclers, the researchers, academic researchers, the NGOs, international partners, also create this website. And what is interesting about this website that we're talking about, the platform, is that it's going to have a lifespan far beyond this project, because the BCC Africa proposes to maintain this platform, because we will continue to update the stakeholders, And if possible, we could even use it for other waste streams other than just plastic waste. Of course, we will have a good communication. Sorry, I'm hearing some background sound. We know we will be able to carry out the usual project coordination activities from mobilization of personnel and consultants up to the final dissemination of the project. And the communication activities we'll see in the list. I'm hoping that this will be distributed. But we have already started some communication activities. Exactly a few hours ago today, NESRIA, the regulatory agency for the environment in Nigeria, conducted a nationwide dialogue on regulatory and enforcement activities. And I had the opportunity to, for the first time, brief stakeholders, which was a very wide spectrum, about the oncoming project that the center is going to be involved in. Here, the budget is about $114,000 with a timeline of 12 months. And the core partners are some local agencies, the Federal Ministry of Environment, Customs, NESTRIA, Plastic Waste Manufacturers and Recyclers. The Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance is a PRO, a Producers Responsibility Organization that is in the food packaging business. It's already exists and it's operational. The African Union Commission has agreed, while we were preparing this project proposal, that it will support projects in Africa on plastic waste with their monitoring and evaluation. And it is important to point out that UNIDO is already on the grounds in Nigeria, very involved in plastic waste management projects. The BRS Secretariat will, of course, be in the advisory and supervisory role. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Percy. And indeed, inventory projects are always critical because, especially in a country like Nigeria, this can really provide a good and sound basis for informed decision-making thereafter. So I think it's a very timely and very appropriate project. We're slightly behind time, but if there's one question in case, I think we could take it. Is there anybody who would like to take the floor? I don't see any hands, which would be good because then we can just move on. Okay. In case we can, this is also the last slot when we can still answer questions and debate a little bit. So, okay, great. So thank you very much, Percy. And with this, we can then move on to our next presentation, which will be delivered by Joseph from the BCRC SCRC South Africa to briefly present the project on establishment of integrated waste management sustainability hubs in Motherwell, Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. So I'm very curious about this project indeed. And yeah, Joseph, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Just. And good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all the colleagues. This project is based in a settlement called Motherwell, which is in one of the cities in the country, the Nelson Mandela Bay city. That is a coastal city. The settlement has got a serious challenge of waste pollution, but primarily the plastic waste. Going through this settlement is what we call the Swartkop estuary, which goes into the Algoa Bay and resulting in the serious contamination of the sea. Now, what the project intends to do is to build on existing facility. We've got a buyback center, the waste buyback center within the settlement, and what we intend to do is to actually upgrade it, get it to a point where it will be more effective, more efficient, and operationally it can do a lot better to make sure that waste is greatly reduced. At the moment, the way this buyback center is operating, it's really operating far less optimally. Now, what we will be doing is to, and that is the focus of this project, is to really reduce the domestic waste, the domestic solid waste, but focusing primarily on the plastic, particularly around the Stockholm estuary, and therefore preventing the flow of the waste into the sea. But that project will have some byproducts to it, which will result in the improvement in the living conditions and of the community in the settlement, and also create some sustainable livelihood for the community. In the interest of time, I'm not going to be delving much on the activities that the project will focus on, but suffice to indicate that, for us to be able to establish a more effective center, waste management center, it'll be important for us to start off by developing the waste management plan. And that waste management plan will have the site development plans, which will then be approved, resulting in the expansion of the current existing buyback center. And the buyback center itself will have incorporated into it what we call a sustainability hub in the form of educational centers, and then we intend to use the site for also doing the food gardening and organic waste composting, and ensuring its sustainability. What is important with the waste management plan that we'll be developing is to make sure that there will be sufficient storage facility, sufficient space for us to be able to store the waste as it comes through, and a sufficiently big sorting facility that the waste can be sorted out and be able to be processed further, and have the recyclable material being purchased or sold to the other major environmental organizations that we've already partnered with. And we intend also to use this as a model, because we want to have it replicated to other municipalities if successful. We want it to be replicated to other municipalities. So we've also will be put in place a information dissemination process following from whatever the successes that will emanate from the implementation of the project. I think it's important to indicate the training facility that will be established as part of the sustainable hub, because what we intend to do is to use that facility, the buyback center facility, as a way of educating the community about the waste beneficiation, because we want the community to appreciate the value of the waste and be able to also have a better knowledge that they can help prevent further increase in the production of waste. We're hoping to have the following outcomes from the project: that we will have, at the primary level, will be the reduced plastic litter, particularly at the Stockholm estuary, as I've already mentioned. But the project, as I've indicated, will also result in the improved environmental health and conditions in the mother well. I mean, if we can share the sight of how the settlement is at the moment, you'll appreciate the importance of us venturing into this project, because frankly, the environmental health is currently at a very, very poor state. We want to use this facility, to shift the waste management approach from the collection by the municipality, because it has demonstrated not to be effective, but to have it in the hands of the community. So this will be more of a community-based system of waste management. And we are of the view that once that is done, not only will it result in the much needed reduction in waste and a better waste management system, but we envisage it resulting in improved livelihoods of the community. Now, there will be people employed there who will be making use of informal segment, the informal sector in the waste management, for people to bring the waste, and they'll be compensated accordingly. So we envisage this resulting also in the improved livelihoods of the community. And through the training center I've referred to and other modalities, we will ensuring the community awareness. We'll be promoting community awareness on the impact of plastic littering and getting the community to be involved in the reduction and better management of this waste. And as I've already pointed out, this is more like a pilot project, and its outcomes we hope will be replicated in other municipalities, having the same situation as the Motherwell situation. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is the brief presentation on the project as it is. I'll wait for questions to explain other aspects of the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Joseph. Extremely interesting, and I really like this, the way you engage the community and, with the potential upside also for their livelihoods apart from just tackling plastic waste. So this is really a very, very interesting project. Thank you very much. Are there any questions to Joseph on this project? Now is your opportunity. In case, of course, you can always follow up by email, either with him or via the secretariat. I don't see any hands. Okay. Okay, thank you again, Joseph, for your presentation. So with that, thanks. So with that, I think we can move on. So now, as the next presentation, I would like to invite Jewel from the BCRC Caribbean to briefly present the project on replacing single-use plastic commodities in the economy of Suriname. Jewel, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Good. Yes, good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all colleagues. So this project is being done in collaboration with the government of Suriname and an organization called SUAMA. And they are an NGO of sorts, and the name stands for Suriname Waste Management. And they were founded in 2008 and registered in Suriname to operate. And the interesting thing about this project is that their remit really looks at, they've done projects on organic waste in schools and a lot of educational programs. And we have to commend their efforts because this project was really designed by them in collaboration with the government of Suriname. And the approach is centered, of course, to technical backstopping, which we provided. So it's really a joint or a team effort. So if we go to the next slide. No, am I in control? Am I in control here? So
yes, you should be in control. Can you try with your mouse?
I'll go down, yeah. Okay, good. So the name of the project, or the project objective, is to help Suriname to seek solutions to deal with plastic waste, particularly single-use plastic. The project budget is 116,140. I think it's 118, and the duration is, of course, 12 months. The objectives include the consultation with stakeholders at all levels on replacing single-use plastics across the supply chain and establishing a baseline using, we want to test the inventory toolkit that was developed under the BRS NORAD 1 project to really see the developing country input into that. Of course, the toolkit is not yet available, but as soon as it is available, and we're hoping it will be available later this year, that we will then test it. And of course, run a pilot project in stores in Paramaribo, which is the capital of Suriname, to replace these single-use plastic bags with a sustainably and locally available options, such as cloth. And in some cases, we've seen the use of newspapers for things like fish or meat and even vegetables as well. So, and then this is where the project is very grassroots, that we're going to look to do collaborations with women's organizations to facilitate the production of these bags. So the additional objectives include the 3 zero plastic high schools. And again, because of SUAMA's input into this project, they've worked before with high schools and have identified at least 3 of them that we can work with to look at zero waste. So it will be measures such as like reducing plastic bottles on compounds, or maybe installation of water coolers, etc. and overall education and awareness to the students at the school, to propose recommendations and an implementation plan for this, to of course involve the locals and of course reduce plastic pollution to the river because they are land-based, as well as of course to the marine environment. So these are the 6 activities again, and we will be looking at doing, again, because it's built from the ground up, we are looking at stakeholder consultations to kick off. We will look at the NORAD toolkit. We'll do the actual replacement of these plastic bags in collaboration with women's organizations, look at the zero plastic waste schools, and then of course do the recommendations and do all the auditing, the M&E part of the project as well. And we just had a few updates. So these are some of the targets to give you an idea. But during the project proposal development, we had 15 stakeholder workshops. We revisited that, especially given COVID-19 and the size of Suriname, to 10 stakeholder workshops. We've reduced the target on these sustainable bags to a little bit less than 2,500 to 1,800. And then, of course, that we want to look at this, reduce the plastic waste in these 3 schools by 50% rather than 60%. So if we surpass it, it's great, but we just want to make sure that we do meet the indicators of the project. And with that, I believe, of course, again, I have to thank Suama and the Suriname team. So Lalita is on the call, Sumaru, and thank her very much for her input, and of course, the government of Suriname, Vanessa Sabajo in particular. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jewel, for this really very thorough and at the same time very quick overview of your project. And yeah, I mean, we already talked about this. I think it's a really, really interesting approach, especially bringing in these women organizations to tailor those bags, which will then be used in the supermarket. So yeah, I think it looks very nice and can really impact some change. So congratulations. Are there any questions for Jewel at this moment? If yes, please raise your hand. We have a very shy crowd today, not many questions, which allows us to stay on time, so that's not bad. Okay, it doesn't seem like it. So thanks again, Jewel, and we can then move on to the next presentation. And this will be the last presentation by the regional centers. So I would like to invite Hildaura, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, from the SVRC India, no, I misspelled there, to briefly present the project on institutional strengthening for the control of transboundary movements and the improvement of environmentally sound management of plastic waste in the Central America sub-region. Of course, that should have been Panama, right? Sorry about that. Hildaura, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joss. Good morning and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to me to present in this webinar because the Small Grant Program of Plastic Waste selected our regional project, Institutional Strengthening for the Control of Transboundary Movement and the Improvement of Environmental Sound Management of Plastic Waste in the Central America sub-region. Our center, BCRC from Central America and Mexico, and SCRC from Capacity Building and Transfer Technology in Panama, implementing this project. January to December 2021 is the date to implement it. The beneficiary countries primarily are Guatemala, Honduras, and Panama. However, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica will be incorporated in the virtual activities and in the review of various aspects that concern the sub-region, such as TBM issues. The budget is $118,000 US, and the objective of the project is to strengthen the institutional and legal structure for the control of transboundary movement, and improve the environmentally sound management of plastic waste in the Central America subregion. We have 3 areas of intervention: controlling the transboundary movement of plastic waste, improving the ESM of plastic waste, and preventing and minimizing the generation of plastic waste. We have 2 components, 4 outputs, and 7 activities. The first component is controlling the transboundary movement of plastic waste, with the output is strengthening institutional and legal structures. We have the first one activity for review and support to identify the needs and legal gaps that exist in the current legal framework to strengthen the control regimen of the Basel Convention, especially the TVM of plastic waste. The activity 1.2 are promotion, the review, and try to update the regional agreement of transboundary movement of the hazardous waste. This document was approved in 1922 and held a validity for 10 years, with a renewal option for similar periods. However, this has not been done. Therefore, in this project, we try to promote the updating, inclusion, the topic of plastic waste, and we hope to work in close collaboration with the Foreign Ministry of the country of the region, with the Ministry of Environmental and Health, as well with the Executive Secretariat of the Central American Commission for Environmental Health and Development, to promote the declaration of interest to review, update, and include the topic of plastic waste in the regional agreement. I think that with this project, we can develop a roadmap, a stakeholder mapping, and a progress report on this regional process. The 3 activities from the component 1 are the promotion of effective control of the plastic TVM and create technical capacity to prevent the illicit traffic. Using the training of trainer methodology, the training of custom officials of each country will be carried out, generating a training guide and with a pilot activity and accompaniment for the facilitators. With the component 2, improving the environmentally sound management of plastic waste, as well as another project previous presented here, we use the guide from inventory toolkit obtained from NORA 1 project. We use a training from the people to take this toolkit adapted to our countries and develop a national strategy on plastic waste using the finding in this inventory. Review and strengthen the institutional legal framework to guarantee the ESM of plastic waste, and develop important documents using participatory methodology, stakeholders, and decision makers. The promotion of the participation and role of actors directly involved in the ESM of plastic waste to contribute to the implementation of a national strategy. Educational and awareness measure of key actors on marine litter and microplastic is a special subject. We try to impact into prevent and significantly reduce marine litter and microplastic from source in partner countries. We have key actors, target groups, national and regional authority, plastic management and entrepreneurs, private sector, students, teachers and scientific community, informal sector, community groups, NGOs, and general population. We have a communication plan to dissemination the project's finding to relevant stakeholders and in a language accessible to the public, using brochures, flyers, spots for social network, short videos, and infographics. We have a steering committee with the state authority from Honduras, Guatemala, and Panama, like Environmental Ministry at CESCO, the Ministry of Environmental and Natural Resources, and the University of San Carlos of Guatemala. In Panama, the Ministry of Health, focal point of the Basel and Stockholm Convention, the University of Panama, the University Technology of Panama. We have other partners at the regional level, the Commission of Environmental Ministers, the Intergovernmental Network of Chemicals and Waste for Latin America and the Caribbean, and NGOs like Foundation Marviva Foundation, and the SALTRA program is a network for regional universities, public university, that have a focus on health, labor, and environmental and the region. The center implementing this project with coordinate activity with national coordinator in each country, will be responsible for presenting the technical and financial report and the execution of the project at the Secretariat, establish the coordination and communication mechanisms for optimal functioning of this involved, including support required by the steering committee. We hope that this project have important products and resources from strengthening the information and the decision makers to take a policy from the plastic waste in our region. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hilda. And yeah, it's great to see also again here a regional approach, because I think this kind of self-disciplined cooperation can really provide a lot of value added. Excellent. So as always, we have a short chance for questions in case there are any. If you have a question, please raise your hand now. Otherwise, we will be moving on. Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, so thanks again, and we can then move on to the next agenda item. So yeah, thanks to all the presenters actually once again, because it was really very insightful, and I think it's great to see in particular the diversity of the presentations. I mean, they all have a different approach, you know, ranging from inventories to development of regional plans to procurement to innovative solutions to build to replace single-use plastics, etc., etc. So I really like this diversity of the approaches, which I think is quite likely to cater for some interesting results in the long term. So thank you very much. And with that, I would like to move to our last agenda item, which is a presentation by my colleague Suman, who will share some insights and lessons learned about the SGP on plastic waste so far. Suman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joost. Good morning, colleague from the West. Good afternoon, and then good evening to colleagues from Far East. I have a very short presentation. This is based on the entire process of SGP when we made the invitation, and then we started getting calls from the centers on the various questions they came up with, and then we received the proposals. So the entire process, and also at some point when there was a deadline of proposals, and we received all the proposals and we started assessing those proposals. And what we observed during this process, I'm going to share with you a few things which might help to have for next rounds of in future, so we can do better. We can be already aware that where we normally make mistakes or we don't pay much attention to. So my presentation is basically on that. Let me see. Oh, I cannot run the. Why I cannot? Okay, let me see. How can I?
You have the co-host, so you should be able to move the slides if you press the button on your keyboard.
Yeah, that is what I did.
Suman, you're the presenter, so you can move it. To the left of your screen, you can move the slides forward.
Okay, left my screen.
You've got a command bar and you've got a little arrow going down.
Oh yes,
the zero.
Yes. Now I see. Thank you, Dan. I'm sorry for this. So far, during the first round, we received 53 proposals, and out of those 53 proposals, only 44 proposals were eligible. So here also, it was already mentioned in the invitation itself, also in the modalities. We said what proposals are eligible, what are not, and from which countries, who could be the beneficiary countries for these proposals. So here also we could have saved some time if we had paid much, attention to the modalities. Out of those 44 proposals, 9 proposals selected, and we have, out of these 9 selected proposals, at the end, when it was communicated to the centers that these proposals were selected, and we wanted a few more, some revision or some documents, that were missed out to be submitted with the proposal. We didn't get them from two proposals. So in total, we had the 7 selected proposals. We just learned about those proposals, but those proposals were. And out of those 44 proposals assessed, 7 other proposals were identified as having potential, and we requested centers to resubmit those proposals with the comments. And if we look at the proposals, we kind of received a very good number of proposals from each of the regions. Like from RULAC, we got 10 proposals. Africa being the region submitting the most proposals, like 18 proposals. The highest number of proposals came from there. And from Asia, also 10 proposals. And from the Eastern Europe, we got 5 proposals. And there is just only 1 regional center, so that explains why we got little number of proposals from there. And if we look into these successful proposals by region, we have fairly kind of balanced proposals. They succeeded in the assessment. GRULAC, there are 2 proposals. From Africa, 2 proposals. Asia, 2 proposals, and from CE, 1 proposal. The insight, as I said, let's talk about the process, the entire process of making announcement, receiving proposals. What we observed was that centers probably, would have planned it sufficiently in advance if they had some idea, because we had indicated to the centers that we are going to invite for project proposals even during the last COPs. This is, we had indicated we are having, we have, it is very much likely that we will receive funding for the SGP, and there is announcement coming very soon. So they could have already planned, thought, the project idea they could have already discussed with people, with the key stakeholders with whom they wanted to work with. There was a big potential for early planning, but many centers did that also. But in some cases, there was, at the last moment, we didn't have enough time to get back to the focal point for the endorsement letters, and also, for some other information that we wanted. There was a kind of a time crunch, so it could have been easily avoided had it been planned little in advance. Also, the focal points, they could have been already, contacted long before, while having this project idea in mind. Even it wouldn't have hurt discussing the focal point, or even asking them what kind of project, we have this potential, we are going to prepare project proposals to submit to SGP, and do you have any idea what kind of proposal, what kind of intervention you would want in this area for the management of the plastic waste? Maybe you could have already, build the rapport with the stakeholders, with the focal point, and then the proposal. They would have been very well, integrated in the project development process. That would have easily, saved a lot of effort and time at the last moment to get this letter of endorsement and getting the proposal through. Many things might already have come, and there were some, some centers did get this opportunity to get our feedback on that draft proposal. Other centers could also have done it had they already prepared their draft proposals, and they could have sought the, our inputs, our quick review could have indicated that this area is, this is little missing here, or maybe you could have elaborated this thing a little better. So those kind of insights from us you could have received had you planned it in advance or prepared your draft proposal in advance. And also you could have reached to your key partners in advance. That would also have, help you to finalize your proposal on time. Like, there are the regional center do have a special relation with the secretariat, special provision that, you don't have to go through this procurement process. But then if you involve the partner, and these partners, how they were selected, how they were involved in the project, if there is no fair process, if there is no, a very transparent process, then it becomes a bit difficult to justify why so partner was selected while another one was not. So these things could have already been done and planned in advance, and approach the focal points, and a process was established for selecting the partners. So this is on the process in general. And while we go to the project, what we saw is the best proposal, you will agree with me, or the whole, everybody agrees that, when you have a proposal, when you are, presenting your proposal, then you must have a very coherent approach. It's very clear what is objective, what is activities, what are outputs, what are outcomes. Are they linked with each other in a coherent manner? Some very good proposals did have these attributes, but some proposals, it was a bit hard to understand what exactly they want to do, what they are saying and what they are doing. Sometimes it does not match very well. So we had also provided our feedback when we received your proposal in this line. So even in future, this one should keep this in mind, that objective, activities, outputs, outcome, this should be very coherently linked. And also the very important thing is these are pilot projects, these are projects. So they should focus on one particular area, two particular, very, should be narrow. The narrow the proposals are the better, because they address the problem to the point. If you, dilute it, it will be like a shotgun, going everywhere. So keeping the project in focus is always good. Is always, it stands out. When whoever reads the project will see this. Okay, with this implementation of this project, this will be changed. This will happen. So it should be very clear. Also, budget needs to be reasonable. Sometimes we have seen that some budgets, some, I don't have an exact example, but we see that sometimes the costing are so high. Sometimes even, the local experts, the charges that are shown in the proposal are at par with what we get in Switzerland. So it should be very reasonable, and also while developing or budgeting the activities, it should be very clear, so that when you see the proposal, one important aspect of the proposal is the budget. If you see that budget is being going around, not very clear, and the costs are not very, relevant or reasonable, then the proposal kind of loses the interest or the faith. So budget needs to be very reasonable, and activities. Costed activities and expected output, this should match very well. And also the consideration like gender, it's getting very important. And then those proposals which do have this gender component, where the women or disadvantaged group of people are being benefited from the project. Those kind of projects do stand out, and they come into the, while assessing the proposal, they stick on the mind. So this is very important. And the donors are very keen on seeing these, especially on gender. They are very, very serious. And also replicability. The whole idea of this pilot project is that, when you have one project, and if that is successful, so that other people could, other countries, other societies could replicate it. That is the whole idea of having the pilot project. So replicability, if you could demonstrate that in the proposal, that already merits, it stands out very well. And the sustainability is also very, very important. But the donor would not want to do it one time. They want to see it. Once it is done, what change it is going to bring permanently, what is going to happen when the project was implemented. So this is also very important. As also one important aspect is innovative projects, they always stand out. Some of the proposals that we had this in the first round, some were rather innovative, original. So everybody, while assessing, everybody came up with, this looks like very good project. Maybe there are some, the content, there may be some, gaps that could have been improved, but the idea as such looks, very good, and then we pursue further on those. So that's, innovative approach is important, and also those projects which have already been proven good. Yeah, they also, gain confidence because they are already proven, and if that is being implemented there, then there is no question, or at least those who are assessing will have confidence that, okay, this will meet the objective of what it is planned. This was what our observation, the whole round, first round, from invitation of proposal up till the selection and awarding the proposal. On the round two, I'm sure many of you have already applied for the round two also. Just the update on this. The 31st October was the deadline, and we have, by the deadline, we have received 26 proposals. Of those 26 proposals, 4 did not meet eligibility criteria, and 22, those met eligibility criteria, are being assessed. And out of these 22 proposals, 15 proposals were those which were submitted in the first round, and those were revised and submitted for this round. And there are 7 new proposals. So this is what we have received so far. And just a moment, sorry. On the timeline, in the for the round one, we are in the process of developing SSFA, October-December 2020. We have this is where we are discussing with the regional centers. We are preparing. Some of the regional centers have already received the draft SSFAs. Some are in the process of receiving. So we are already at this point, and by January we have aimed that the project implementation will start, and as most of the projects are of 1 year time, so by December 2021, we hope that the project implementation will be completed, and after that, the first 2-3 months will be the evaluation of the project outcomes. So by January to March 2022, we will we'll finish the first round of proposals. The 7 proposals will be completely concluded. For the second round, as we had made the announcement on 18 September, calling the proposals, on 31st October, as I said, was the deadline. We received the proposals. Now we are screening the proposals, seeing if they meet the criteria, if they are eligible. As I just said that out of 26 proposals we received, 4 were not eligible. So this is what we are doing right now, and we are also assessing the proposal, the content, and by when we finish this, and we intend to have these proposals selected, and by January-March 2021, we intend to have these the SSFA prepared for these selected proposals, and from April until March 2022, we intend this proposal will be implemented. And then here also from April to June 2022, we'll have this evaluation of the proposals. This was my short presentation. So thank you very much. Any questions, suggestions, comments, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much, Suman, for this information. We're a little bit about over time, but for those who still have time and have any burning questions, we would be more than happy to still stay a few minutes and answer your questions in case you have any. And then, as I indicated before, we are more than happy to assist with any questions that you may think of afterwards by email or other means. So please feel free to contact us at any time. But if there's anything you would like to ask now and that you think that could also benefit the other participants, please feel free to raise your hand. Okay, I don't think there's any questions at the moment, so it seems we have been very clear in our explanations. That's great. Okay, good. Well, with that, I think then we can close this webinar. I don't know if Kay is still here. If yes, do you want to speak some? Do you want to close the meeting?
Yes, thank you very much. It's been a lot of presentations full of information. I trust that you will all receive email from our colleagues with the presentations that are given today. We will also make this available on the website. And it is also important that we share the outputs of this project. So we will definitely organize more webinars to share with you the progress and the outcomes that we can share and have further development through this small grant program. As Suma mentioned, there is a second round. So keep pay attention to what we are doing right now, and we'll be happy to share further information on the second round as well next year. I would like to also mention one more thing, that this program is funded by NORAD, and under NORAD project we are developing a number of tools and guidance documents, and this will be also available end of this year and next year. So we will again organize a webinar to share those tools and guidance that could be used widely by our partners. So thank you very much. Over to you, Joost.
Well, I think everything has been said. Thank you very much, Kay, for closing this meeting. And once again, thank you very much for participating, and in particular to the presenters. A job really well done. And we look forward to meeting you again soon, even if it's just virtually. So a good night and a good morning and a good afternoon to everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks
so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
About different topics, but
Bye-bye.